Deuteronomy is the fifth and the last book of the Jewish Torah and the fifth book of the Christian Old Testament. The book consists of 3 sermons delivered to the Israelites by Moses on the plains of Moab shortly before they enter the Promised Land. They have been traveling for nearly 40 years now. The first generation of Israelites died in the wilderness, so Moses is speaking to the second generation of Israel who would eventually enter the Promised Land. This lesson is a part of the Songs of Moses. In some of his last words, Moses is providing a warning and blessings from God. Good leaders often provide context so that their followers can have a frame of reference as they move forward. Moses is reminding the children of Israel of their history and covenant relationship with Yahweh, the one true God. Moses has not just read or heard about the liberation and history of Israel, he's lived through it. As he talks to the children of Israel, it is understandable why he starts this lesson by praising God, both for what and who God is. He is the rock, righteous, upright, a constant source of refuge, and praising God for what God has done and does. His work is perfect, for all of his ways are just. Leaders know their people, so Moses knows even before the 20th century philosopher George Santayana wrote it. Moses knows that those who do not learn from their history are doomed to repeat it. Israel was created by God to be a nation set apart, a nation with a covenant of laws prescribed by God, with kings and leaders that were subservient to those laws. Israel was going to be among people and nations that were pagan, intended to be ruled by earthly kings who were the law and who determined justice themselves. So Moses spoke as a witness against a rebellious Israel, so that this generation could understand their covenant relationship with God. And so Moses used history to contextualize his lesson, saying, God has brought Israel out of the harsh slavery of Egypt. Like a father providing for his children, Moses asked the question that modern Christians should ask. Considering what God has done, isn't it foolish and unwise to rebel against God, to accept pagan ways? God has been good to Israel individually and as a nation, and the same can be said for us. And so the same question is a logical question. Moses' song is a testimony to the greatness of God and a warning to this new generation not to take the path of their forefathers. Moses witnessed and felt the divine protection of God. The earlier generation witnessed that divine protection, but they still rebelled. Moses' poem, his song, is designed to help bring out in this new generation the emotions and feelings that they have been told about all their lives. He is using analogies to convey to this generation that their God has a history of protecting them, of taking them from a place of despair, of shielding them, of carrying them so that they are now on the verge of entering the Promised Land. Only Yahweh is responsible, not some foreign god from Canaan. But like any good leader, Moses knows his people. He knows that they will see the lifestyles of those pagans and feel that the grass is greener on the other side. He knows that they will be tempted to join with pagans, violating the social and dietary commands to marry foreign women and to worship a foreign god, departing from the ways of Yahweh. Moses isn't going to go into the promised land with his people, so he needs to give them a good lecture. So his message to Israel reminds them that God is gracious and that they can seek forgiveness and return to the true God even though they may have departed. Just as it is illogical for us to rebel and stray from God because of how good he has been to us, we do understand that God is gracious and that we can return to him if we just seek forgiveness. That's the lesson for this week. Have a great week. Bye.